Hello and welcome to our next Siemens&Guests session this morning. My name's Andy and I will be your host for the next session. In the next 30 minutes, it's all about modular production. We know that new production plants have to be more flexible and more efficient in order to support faster product changes. We are therefore delighted to be partnering with Merck. This will create new opportunities for us to drive forward modular production and to meet the growing requirements for chemical and pharmaceutical processes in our joint development work. And how does this look? Well, our next guests are here to give you some answers. Please welcome Dr. Hans-Joachim Neumann, Executive Vice President and Head of Integrated Supply Chain within Electronics at Merck. Hello, Hans-Joachim.
Hello, Andy. Hello,
how are you?
Great to be with you today.
Great. And of course, welcome back, Eckhard Eberle, our CEO of Process Automation.
Hello, Endo.
So what manufacturers require for staying competitive on the long run are concepts to realize flexibility in production, but also in plant design and in construction. That's why modular production is one of the hot topics, not just for this discussion. So let's kick off. Gentlemen, maybe we should take a step back. What for you is modular production? What does it really mean to you? Hayo, maybe we start with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great question. And, you know, we are dealing with that topic since many, many years, and we have already a lot of experience. Modular manufacturing means digitalization of manufacturing. And this brings us more flexibility, more efficiency, and the availability of digital data, which in itself is a value. But if you look at the modular manufacturing setup, we have a couple of advantages here. For example, if you look at flexibility, volume flexibility, one example, location flexibility, you can bring these kind of manufacturing capabilities to other countries easily. If you look at quality, the batch-to-batch consistency is way better. We can steer our impurity profile in a much more efficient way than compared, for example, to a batch-to-batch process. And don't forget sustainability. Sustainability also is an element which is key here, and we can really optimize our processes, which means less waste, which means more energy efficiency. So there are a couple of big advantages, and that's why we see that clearly as the technology of the future.
Okay, cool. Eckhard, what does modular production mean to you?
Yeah, I think what Hayo said is already very explanative. Digitalization is the basis to make this really happen. When you see it more in a very simple way, we are cutting plants into process pieces and make them somehow autonomous. So this makes it very flexible to move around and change production very fast. So this has a significant impact on the easiness of engineering and design. On the other side as well, also during the operations, we are very flexible and fast in changing on the process and improving, extending and working on this. And I think this is something which has significant advantages and really is driving the whole view, in particular when it comes to smaller lot sizes, to stronger individualized production, to a far new level compared to that how we have been designing and producing in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about modular plants even at Acima 3 years ago in 2018, but what's the status today? Where are we? I mean, Hayo, do you have an example of an implementation?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, what changed is we have now that wonderful collaboration with Siemens. This is really a step forward with us. We started this last year, and this gives us really a momentum in order to take the next steps. And yeah, actually, we are building, as we speak, a fully fledged manufacturing line here in our Darmstadt facility. It will be operational in 2022, and this line or this setup will really be the first fully modulated, so to say, manufacturing line here in Darmstadt, and we will apply all these wonderful process management technology which we get from Siemens here.
Fantastic. So indeed we're co-creating on this project, Eckhard, and what's your view on the project? I mean, what are your plans? What are the common plans from your perspective?
So I think this is really an exciting one because I think, Hayo, we are talking for this for 1.5 years and see, based on our view on standardizing and modularizing production, I think this is a very fruitful discussion, has led now in a common project, which is very important that our teams, the Merck team as well as the Siemens team, are collaborating very narrow in bringing all the knowledge together and bringing the systems together, bringing the standards in order to make this happen. And this for sure in a tight timeline, because I think starting production next year is a challenge in itself, but it's really very exciting, because I think nothing is good unless you do it. And therefore, I think we are really looking forward with a great teamwork started in being successful in this.
Make it concrete, put it into action, yeah? I mean, what implication, Hayo, does this have on your production from your perspective as an end customer? I mean, what needs to be changed? What benefits are you expecting from modular production?
I mean, the benefits are manifold, yeah, right? You can, if you start thinking that through, the benefits are really a big list, so to say, right? But what is really important is that additional flexibility. And when I talk about flexibility, what do I mean? Here, location flexibility is one element. Yeah? So if you have a modular setup, a modular manufacturing plant somewhere erected in the world, you can copy and paste it easily and bring it somewhere in the world. That means completely different approaches when it comes to customer proximity. You really can come close to the customer and really can tailor the process with the customer. Flexibility is also about volume, right? You can tune easily between low volume and high volume in the same manufacturing setup, which brings a lot of additional benefits. And we can tailor the process. As said in the beginning, we can really have a customer-specific tailored impurity profile, for example, right? And that is possible with a modular flow, and that is possible with having all these analytical measure systems in the equipment, and all these actors which really can make sure that we can steer the process in a way that I personally call that precision chemistry, right? What we are able to do with that kind of equipment.
So I'm very interested. Your business unit is, as we see behind you, great screen, electronics. You're in this electronics part where you have a very clear focus on the process itself. Can you tell us about the flexibility and the process changes that you need? Because at the same time, your colleagues in the life sciences part are, or machine builders, Mobius devices, for example. So you have different perspectives within Merck, right? You have the modular production from a machine builder perspective, as well as the electronics or the process part. So what do you see from the machine building side of things? What are the main benefits of modularization and modular production for the OEM division of Merck?
Yeah, perfectly right, Andy. So we have both angles in our company, which gives us a broad experience, right, from a application point of view, but also from a building point of view. And from my perspective, it's absolutely clear MTP creates additional value to the modules. Whenever you produce a module, it's an additional value to have that on board, because from a customer perspective, you can use this module and just integrated in something which is already existing, and you from a customer perspective, you're working in an already tested, already validated environment, and that gives a huge advantage. I can really imagine that in the future, this is an absolute critical feature for all module makers to have this availability. Yeah. If you think a little bit further, so MTP and the elements which are part of MTP is already a segue into this digital twin categories, right? And with the digital twin, you can do so much more than we currently can do. For example, you can combine product data with process data. And if you then apply a modern digital algorithms, then you can achieve insights which you otherwise don't get. So it opens the door to a completely new kind of manufacturing with way more insights and a way better understanding of our processes.
Excellent, excellent. So you talk about MTP. Eckhard, I'm going to ask you about MTP because I'm a bit confused. Modular production, MTP, What is MTP, and is it the same thing?
There are two things which are adding very well together. So the thinking of a modular production is really having autonomous modules working together and also being connected to an orchestration layer, which then is coordinating the whole process. So each of the modules have some kind of automation in, and also the orchestration layer can make the whole process run, that everything is fitting together, which is very important in process industry's part. So I think this is something which is the modular production part. MTP is model type production, which means that we are standardizing. So together with the NAMU organization, so the Association of the German and Europe end customers, particularly for pharmaceutical and chemical industries, together with ZVI from our side, so the Electronics Manufacturers Association, are working together for quite a time to define standards for the connectivity between the modules and orchestration layer, so that we are standardizing all these types of communication. Helps a lot to make the things somewhat much easier to handle and so much easier to interchange and exchange independent which kind of automation is on the orchestration layer or on the module itself.
So MTP is the standard, right?
Yes.
Basically, the
yeah.
module type package, I think, as
Absolutely.
well as module production. So what's the implication for that then from a supplier perspective? What does that really mean for Siemens? You start to talk about the standardized parts, but what would you say is the implications there?
I think this is a significant way on doing the things. One thing, it has an impact on the type of engineering of a plant, because you move part of the automation into the modules, whereas in the past, plants had to be engineered top-down for the whole plant when everything was connected. And I think this is going to be different now. Modules have an independent autocracy in operating and also automating, as well as then the orchestration layer. So, and this has also a consequence on the players in the market. So I think in this case, we have a very good situation that Merck is OEM, at the same time also end user, where we can test and try this out in the best way. For sure, in the future, process OEMs will take a role that they are also automating equipment, installing the standard, and then bringing this in. And this has a big advantage on the end user side, because also you get some kind of a scale, because you are repeating modules and you get a higher quality on this part. On the other side, this means we are talking to OEMs together with the end customer in bringing all the things together. So this has an impact on the other side for sure. Also portfolio-wise, we are bringing in orchestration layers. With our control systems like PCS Neo, we are bringing in automation for the modules with classical Simatic S7 portfolio, which fits also very well into this.
Okay, so it's setting the direction of the full portfolio. Absolutely. And the direction which our customers are going as well. Hayo, I want to come back to this idea of digitalization and digital data flow, because often we talk about these things, but we're never really going into the detail about security. And I really want to pick up on that point around the importance of security. Of course it's important, and of course we're working together to make sure. But can you give us a little bit of background or a bit of an insight into what you see as the security and safety aspects with regard to modular production at MTP? And I mean, do you see any challenges or a showstopper within that?
Definitely no showstoppers, for sure not. And I think data integrity and data safety, these are not elements which are only related to modular manufacturing or with Industry 4.0 or whatever. I mean, this goes along with digitalization in total, right? And we have to deal with it. We have to deal as a society, but we also have to deal with it as a company. And we will come up with smart ideas. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure the more data we generate, the more we have to do with the data, right? Otherwise, it's meaningless to collect all the data. We have to do something with the data. And that means our safety concepts have to be flexible so that we can really use it and nurture the data lakes we are producing. So from my perspective, definitely not a showstopper. but a need for a different thinking, how we want to secure data integrity and data safety. And we will never compromise on that end, for sure not. But we need smart solutions for that. And again, here I see an opportunity to cooperate with Siemens, right? Because you know that very well that this task has to be tackled, and we can tackle that together. Your question about process safety. Here we have a huge advantage, right? If you think about modular manufacturing, continuous flow manufacturing, the holdup of critical chemicals in the reactor is significantly lower when you compare it to a batch process, and this gives us really a huge advantage when it comes to process safety, right? So
it's both,
I don't see any showstopper. I see really opportunities here.
Just benefits, yeah? Great. So the other one is this flexibility, right? For me, at least, the real driver for MTP is modularization, is that enhanced flexibility, which then gives you shorter time to market, higher productivity, and all of these things, as we talked about in the introduction. But Eckhard, to you, how does Siemens contribute as a supplier to this concept of high flexibility and maximum standardization?
So in twofold, in general, I think the topic of standardization is a very important one, because I think if we do not standardize on how the communication and the exchange between the modules to the supervisory layer, to the orchestration layer is, it will be very difficult. And we come back to that, how we were engineering in the past. So we were working very close in defining on the standard. And we are very fast here together with Merck. I think a big portion on the classical controls, on HMI, on alarm is already finished on this classical standard. And we also are contributing and collaborating with the colleagues from Merck, but also in the NAMO organization, to make sure that the standard is going to be ready very soon. Yeah? And we are using this already in the project here in order to implement this and driving this very much further, because I think this is the most important thing, this interchangeable on a standard. On the other side, I think on the modularization piece, we are tying in when it comes to not only also helping on the standard, but also providing on the portfolio, because for sure it somehow has a different need, and also we are bringing in our knowledge on the one side on the domain know-how, what we are knowing about the processes, but also on the automation and digitalization know-how in helping and exchanging with the colleagues in order to make sure that the need and what we want to achieve, flexible, smaller lot sizes, exactly, is going to be a very easy way. So everything which is going to more or less plug and produce, and this is the thinking behind, is exactly what we are looking. Nobody wants to have an endless engineering process coming in when you just want to change a different type of what you want to produce, but it's more or less changing on the modules, plugging this in, and I think working on this in the next step, also continue on the production. This is important.
Such a great expression, plug and produce, plug and play even, they sometimes say, right? I know in some of these, because it really sums up this idea and it helps us to visualize it, I know from my experience there too. But our time is nearly up, I'm afraid. But before we go, I'd just like to ask both of you, for one last statement on what comes next. What's the next steps for modular production, and what might be the next steps in the development and implementation of MTP itself? So, Hayo, I ask you that question first. What's going to happen next for you guys?
Yeah, from my perspective, this modular manufacturing approach and all the digitalization which comes along with that is only the beginning, right? It only opens the door for what we call Industry 4.0, where we can think of I don't know, having models in a catalog, right? That you just click them and get them from somewhere else where you can rent modules. Currently, we are producing our models by ourselves, or we are working together with companies who are doing that for us. But I can envision really a world where these modules are just available, and you can get them very flexible. I can also think about the next steps that an order coming in from a customer already initiates the right setup of the manufacturing module sequence, that the raw materials are already ordered, that the packaging materials are already ordered, that really the order triggers all the activities in a manufacturing plant which has to take place in order to produce a product, right? So you can really think that from end to end. And from my perspective, the critical technologies are already there. What we have to do, and there we need support of companies like Siemens, what we have to do is really bring all the pieces together in one chain. And then we have a completely different scenario with unprecedented flexibility and unprecedented ability to really tailor the products to the customer's needs.
Thanks, Eckhard. Thanks, Hayo. We've run out of time, unfortunately, but what a great discussion that was. I'm really, really interested to see how this will work out and what the future will be. So, as I said, that's all we have time for. Thanks very much to our guests, and let's all look forward to seeing the outcomes of this project all together. And we are back with more breaking news from Trends and Technologies. And this time, I'm joined by some colleagues from around the world. Flexible and modular production with the module type package. Firstly, to Karlsruhe, Germany. Let's hear about flexibility and efficiency and modularization. From the Smart Automation Lab in Karlsruhe, some insights from my colleague Matthias Mauermeier, one of the pioneers of modular production with module type package, or in short, MTP.
Using these MTPs, he integrates the modules into the process orchestration layer, which is SIMATIC PCS Neo in our case. It's now time to bring the process equipment assembly on scene. It's time to plug and operate. For that, we bring the module into the concrete plant and we connect it to the plant. A first step, it's all the process technical things. And the second step is networks and electrical power.
Thank you, Matthias. Industrial 5G for the industry of tomorrow. And now from Karlsruhe, let's go to Nuremberg and take another look behind the scenes at the Siemens Automotive Showroom and Test Center in Nuremberg. Here, Siemens and Qualcomm Technologies are testing 5G communications under real industrial conditions in a private standalone 5G network. Our correspondent is Sander Rotmanson.
The name isn't the coolest thing about this device. It's the fact that you can use it in both public and private 5G networks. You can mount it right on mobile and on stationary equipment. And it's robust and resilient to master whatever challenges it needs to tackle in tough industrial environments. Today we need to communicate with machines from anywhere. For example, for remote maintenance. And wherever you are, secure access is always the key. What about using public 5G networks for this application? That's what we are offering with our management platform Cinema Remote Connect for secure remote access via public 5G networks. The Scalens MUM 856-1 can be mounted on a machine and you can easily connect to it with a VPN tunnel using Cinema Remote Connect. Using this secured connection, you can perform remote maintenance on the machine, even when the machine is part of a local company network.
Thank you, Sander. Social distancing and contact tracing with RTLS. And now, over to Houston, Texas. The Siemens facility over there ensures the safety of its employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. By implementing our own real-time locating system solution, RTLS, they have been able to easily and cost-effectively implement social distancing and contact tracing. Let's switch over to Jean Edwards, who's the Environment, Health and Safety Manager at our Houston plant.
When we were looking for better solutions on how to conduct the contact tracing, we were in communication with our Siemens process automation business, and they have an RTLS technology. You can either install ceiling-mounted or wall-mounted readers, which are known as gateways, and then you equip each employee with a specific badge, and those gateways are able to read off of those badges and triangulate a location where that badge is. They're able to be programmed so that there's different set of parameters to trigger an alert. And for our badges specifically, since we were using them for social distancing purposes, we programmed them to flash if the individual wearing them is within 6 feet for more than a minute or so to another badge.
Thank you, Jean. It sounds like in Houston, we no longer have a problem. The Living Lab at Siemens headquarters in Vienna, Austria, is home to a unique Industry 4.0 pilot plant where our visionary ideas for the pharma industry can be realistically tested and developed. The key is to put the customer feedback at the core of their research.
Im Living Lab betreiben wir ein typisches Modell einer Anlage in der Bioprozessindustrie. Unser Ziel ist es, die dort laufenden Prozesse zu simulieren, zu modellieren und dann eine Basis zu finden, wie man solche Prozesse auch optimieren kann.
Für uns ganz entscheidend ist, die prototypischen Forschungen und Entwicklungen in einer realen Umgebung austesten zu können und ganz schnell Kundenfeedback zu bekommen, um zu sehen, was denn der Nutzen von unseren prototypischen Forschungen und Entwicklungen ist.
Look out for a separate session in the ACHEMA Pulse programme from my colleagues Barbara and Julita on the Living Lab called Testing Visionary Ideas in Real Life. Siemens SIPA honoured at the Red Dot Award. Meanwhile, in China, our application called Siemens Predictive Analytics, in short SIPA, has been successfully deployed. At the Sinopec Qingdao Refining and Chemical Company, the app has helped the customer to establish a closed-loop mechanism from intelligent early warning to advanced diagnosis. This ensures reliable and safe production for the customer. Booking a virtual tour. And finally, please remember that if you want to experience more of our products and solutions, we have set up a virtual guided tour where you can see our solutions in action. Book your tour today by visiting our website at siemens.com/ACHEMA. And of course, there's a wealth of information and opportunities to find out more at this site. And now, back to Christine.
Thanks, Andy. What a great trip you just took us on, and great to see our colleagues from around the world and the diversity of things that they are working on. By the way, I'm still impressed with your skills as an anchorman, from interviewer to newsreader to comedian. So have you decided yet to give up your day job and become a TV star?
No, Christine, thanks. I mean, it's fun doing this for a change, but my passion is definitely in the pharmaceutical industry, working with our customers to solve their different challenges.
I can tell. Right, Andy. And I think in the next talk you will be moderating a session about this. So can you tell us what's coming up?
Yeah, right, Christine. So our next subject is the MMIC, the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre, where we are part of the ecosystem that they are building for the future of the pharmaceutical industry around continuous manufacturing and just-in-time clinical supply manufacturing.
Sounds interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, tune in on the hour at 11 a.m. Frankfurt time to find out more. And Andy, that means we're having a little time for a coffee break.
Sounds like a great idea. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye and see you soon.
Ciao for now.